Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. Joe Samaniego here, along with Matthew Bro. We're discussing NASCAR, the Bristol Dirt Race today. The only kind of racing going on this weekend for the Grid ranking, but we're still on the air right here on the Grid Network. Big thank you to our Patreon subscribers, calling the show, Mark and Robin, and our newest one, David, for helping us stay on the air. They help us pay the bills each and every month. You too could do that. Link in the video description. Less than 5 minutes. And of course, you could do a one time contribution or multiple contributions to your favorite on air personality right here. And you set the amount on Buy Me a Coffee. So, a lot of options to invest in the Grid Network. And Matthew, this is a quiet race weekend. We know it's Easter weekend, of course. A lot of the other series are off. But the NASCAR Cup Series, they're the only ones going on because they got the NASCAR Dirt Race, Food City Dirt Race at Bristol Motor Speedway, and one potential favorite has to be Christopher Bell. Of course, this week, the first week of the grid ranking, he and William Byron are tied for first place in the NASCAR rating at 60 points each. So that puts them at 17th place in the grid ranking. And of course, a top 10 finish, that'll be a huge for each of them. Bell leads when it comes to top 10 finishes over William Byron. Bell has no wins this year so far, but has a 71% top 10 finish rate, second best in NASCAR behind Alex Bowman. Do you believe Christopher Bell is the favorite to win the Bristol Dirt Race? Because we know his dirt racing pedigree.
Ye I mean, absolutely. I think I might say he might be one of the favorites, Joe. I don't know if he is the specific favorite because of guys like Kyle Larson is an example. I think the betting odds, I believe looking at like CBS Sports, Kyle Larson had the best odds along with Christopher Bell is second with Tyler Reddick. I think Tyler Reddick's one of those guys who I believe might be tied for second or third in the NASCAR's grid rating up there, very close to them. He has a win. That's what bumped him up there. A couple top five finishes for him. So I think Christopher Bell is definitely in prime position this weekend to surpass William Byron, unless William Byron comes out and does what he has done multiple times this season, the only one, and wins the race or even finish in the top 10. That's what Byron has lacked, I think, so far this season is the consistency that Christopher Bell has. So if Christopher Bell had Byron's wins plus the consistency, he would be running away, seemingly like what Alex Bowman had been doing before both penalties that kept taking the points, giving them back, taking them back again. Yeah, so Ross Chastain is now the points leader, but I think Christopher Bell, being as consistent as he is probably one of the favorites, especially out of the Toyota camp. I think him and Tyler Reddick are going to have like a little bit of a duel that will be really fun to watch. And I mean, Christopher Bell, he had an incident, I believe, in the first race here. Would have been, I think it was with Kyle Larson. It shocked a lot of people. I believe he finished 34th in the first race here, but then he came back to finish seventh after starting second last race. So if you want to do your pick a winner, the people in the chat room, Christopher Bell is definitely one of those picks I would be confident in sharing. He might not be mine. Maybe my mind will change over this show, but I think Christopher Bell is definitely a contender for easily a top five finish at the least.
Top five finish. As you mentioned, that first year, him and Kyle Larson got into each other, ruined each other's day. And those were two favorites because of their racing history together at the Chili Bowl, bunch of dirt track races. So it's going to be very interesting to see Christopher Bell. I got to agree with you. I'm looking at one of the favorites because there's a couple others. And this is very different. Besides the dirt, we have no qualifying. Yesterday, everything was rained out. So we just have the heat races, and that's how they're going to determine who starts where on Sunday's race. Each of the past winners here, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, what do they both have in common? They're both the two-time champions in the Cup Series. The other past champions are all one-time champions with Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Brad Keselowski. Of course, Chase Elliott not in the race due to the broken leg. Busch, Logano, Larson, they've all got wins so far. Truex, Harvick, and Keselowski, the other past champions, they don't have a win. Do you see one of those three potentially winning at the Bristol Dirt Race?
Absolutely. I think the three who have probably won this season so far, the past champions, are who I would have the most confidence in winning. Obviously, Kyle Busch, he might have backed into his 60th career win here last season, but I mean, he was up front most of the day anyway, and he did win the race ultimately. And then you have also Kyle Larson, who is one of the best motorsport dirt drivers in all of NASCAR, all of motorsport. Kyle Larson can get it done on any given day. I almost said any given Sunday, but really Monday through Sunday, if you count your work week like that. Kyle Larson can get it done. I think guys like Martin Jr., who won the truck race, definitely can get it done. Kevin Harvick hasn't had so much luck here, and then same with Brad Keselowski. I don't. I think we do see a past champion win this race, but I mean Joey Logano. I have a lot of confidence in. Well, one of my first ever tweets that go quote viral, a lot of likes, gained some followers. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I appreciate it. But Joey Logano is actually the only driver in the NASCAR Cup Series to be in the top 15 during all 503 laps at Bristol Dirt during the past two seasons when he won and then finished. I believe it would have been third if I'm Yes, you finished third to Tyler Reddick and Kyle Busch. So that's a 100% top 15 rate, a 100% top three rate. I think Joey Logano, out of all these past champions, could probably be the one who will get it done. But you never know. We could see a shock winner. I mean, Bristol Dirt, we talk about the unpredictability. Anything can happen tomorrow. And I feel like during the heat races today, which are on Fox Sports 2, anything can happen during those. We see some shocks, but don't you dare ever count out these guys like Truex, Harvick, Keselowski, because RFK Racing's really come seemingly out of nowhere with Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski really being up front a lot more than they were in the previous seasons. Brad Keselowski is one of the best. I'd put him in my top 75 all time. I know NASCAR just announced they'll be releasing the 75th ranking, I believe, at Darlington, which is in a little over a month. So Brad Keselowski, I'd definitely put up there. Harvick, Truex are two guys that come to mind as well. So never count out past champions is all I'm saying, or you will be eating crow.
That's the thing with these past champions. I think, as you said, the ones that have won here, easily they're looking as easy favorites. I gotta agree with you when it comes to Kevin Harvick, considering everything he's done in his career. It just seems this is one race where he just doesn't seem to really be that competitive compared to traditional Bristol and the other venues. Maybe just something about driving these cup cars in the dirt. Then, of course, with Martin Truex Jr. getting that Truck Series win, a lot of people have to look at him. I think a lot of people overlook him, especially when they look at Christopher Bell. Now you got Tyler Reddick in the Toyota camp. He could get it done, and he would love to end this winless streak that has been going on for quite some time, get himself into playoffs, ensure he doesn't miss it. Last year, of course, this race to finish, when you had Tyler Reddick trying to get his first win, Chase Briscoe, the two of them crashed out. Well, spun out. Tyler Reddick still was able to cross the line, but we saw Kyle Busch get him out the line. Now this year, Tyler Reddick is in that 45 car. And that 45 car, the best finish at Bristol Dirt, 16th. The other finish, 32nd. So seems like that 2311 car doesn't seem to have Bristol figured out. But they got Tyler Reddick, who almost got that win last year. Of course, Chase Briscoe, he is winless this year. So do you anticipate Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe to be two drivers potentially fighting for the win again? And now that Chase Briscoe has no wins compared to last year where he won at Phoenix and then came here, will he do another aggressive move for the win like we saw last year?
I want to answer that like kind of like half and half. I think Tyler Reddick will 100% be a contender here. I know he had like an 89.5% top 15 rate at these past two races, both with RCR and the number 8 car. Obviously, almost winning before the slide job went wrong and took him out from Chase Briscoe. I don't know if I see Chase Briscoe really contending as much as people and like the odds and everything are giving him credit for. Great driver, was great here. I know he ended up finishing like 22nd or something, which was worse than his previous race here, even though he led a lot of laps and was one untimed move away from earning his would have been second win of the season at such a young age because he was only a rookie like 2-3 years ago. I don't know if they're going to see a battle between those two guys. I really don't. I mean, Briscoe's sitting 21st in points. Stuart Haas just really isn't having the year that anyone really expected him to. Majority of the guys like Almirola and Ryan Preece as well are down in like 27th, 28th or something like that in points. So I don't know about the Stewart Haas cars if I can put my confidence in them. That's why with Kevin Harvick's, I guess, lack of success here specifically due to various accidents and stuff like that that really weren't his fault. I don't know if I put confident in Briscoe to be up there, but when I see guys like Tyler Reddick, who have been up front, one of the drivers who has finished in the top 10 here both times, young driver can really wheel a race car. I think Tyler Reddick can be a favorite to win this race. I know he's like tied for second with Christopher Bell with the odds for the win. So I know 2311 hasn't had much success here. Obviously, Bubba Wallace hasn't had a lot of success here despite one of his first truck wins coming at Eldora. So Bubba Wallace can race on dirt. It's not like he can't. He's won there. He beat out Larson in that race. It was a really great race to watch. He drove for Kyle Busch Motorsports in the 54 at the time. I believe that would have been 2013. So 10 years ago, though. So keep in mind, different truck, different track, stuff like that. So 2311 might not be as much of a contender, especially like from last year, but bringing Tyler Reddick, who's been successful since the Cup Series those past couple years at every single track, especially road courses. I think he can give that camp the boost, specifically Toyota as well, to get it done. So to answer that question in a very long answer, Joe, I if Chase Briscoe gets there, will he make an aggressive move? Absolutely, he needs to. He's one of those guys that needs to win to get in, just unfortunately with the success. Tyler Reddick already has a win in his pocket. I think he'll do his best to try to, I guess, get that revenge, get that win that I guess, that was rightfully taken from him last season here.
Yeah, I feel Chase Briscoe, especially with this format, winning you're in, he's gonna make that move to try to get the win if he can on the last lap. Because even if you come in second place or 15th place or worse for our last lap pass that didn't work out, if you get that win, you're in the playoffs. You're locked in. Second place won't cut it. This year, though, I do feel we're going to see some more drivers get in by points compared to last year. But you just don't know. We're still early in the season. This dirt race has to be one of the races Chase Briscoe has calendared, circled, because he knows this is a good opportunity for him. Because, as he mentioned, Stewart Haas Racing, they just don't seem to be 100%. A lot of big thoughts about Ryan Priest coming back. Bad luck. Eric Almirola, a lot of bad luck this year. Both of them so low on the points. And Chase Briscoe, a couple races, it just seems mechanical issues and bad luck for him. Now, some drivers that have had good fortune here, especially with the two ratings of this dirt race, four drivers have finished in the top 10 each time. Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott. Of course, that streak is going to come at end for Chase Elliott as he's going to miss this weekend's race. But Ryan Blaney, who is winless, do you see Blaney continuing this top 10 streak? And could he be a contender for a win? Because it just seems like we always talk about Logano, but not so much Blaney for this race.
Absolutely. I mean, Ryan Blaney's somebody I have a lot of confidence in as a driver, as somebody who's developing. Maybe not so much when Kyle Petty with the whole Casey Kane thing that we love to joke about. Casey Kane's a great driver as well too, but it would be awesome to see him in third. I just want to point that out. That'd be really funny. Also, hello to Diggs BTW7. What's up? Glad you could be here today. It's with Ryan Blaney, though. I mean, besides the Casey Kane thing, I would love to see him make a cup appearance at Bristol Dirt or Bristol Truck, whatever. Well, the truck race at Bristol, but that'd be fun. But Ryan Blaney, I think, definitely can break through and get a win here. The first race here, so before the next gen era, where it was kind of like racing on dirty asphalt, or with all the dirt coming up. Blaney started third, finished eighth, and then in the next gen era here, he started way back in 25th, managed to get stage points in both, and then finished in the top five. So I think Ryan Blaney can definitely be a guy. And then in terms of who you also said with Logano and Reddick, I think all those guys, I can't guarantee a top 10 because knowing my luck, we'll go into turn two and all three of them will wreck each other because I said that. I hope that doesn't happen. I really hope for a clean race. But I think Brian Blaney, with his success here, very underrated, I feel, at a lot of these tracks. He's one of those guys that if he doesn't get a win, kind of like Martin Truex Jr. last season and even this season, they're not getting the wins. I feel like that they're so close to almost every race, but they are so consistent, so good at what they do to be able to. They'll be those guys if they don't win. Those are the two off the top of my head that will point their way in if they obviously don't win the season. But I'm confident in both of those guys. I think they can get it done. I think Ryan Blaney does finish in the top 10. Does he win? Probably. I mean, these Penske Fords have a lot of speed here, even though last race here was the slowest race in, I believe, NASCAR history. That was from TobyChristie.com and Joe Scrigley. With that stat, it was like 35 miles per hour average or something like that. So maybe they won't show the speed because there might not be a lot of it, but I think Ryan Blaney can definitely finish in the top 10, top 5, maybe win. Like I said earlier, pick a winner. He's another great pick. I'm not going to really bash any of these drivers. I think anyone can win here on any given Sunday, going back to that reference. But I'll stop talking. I want to hear what you got to say about this one.
I have to, when it comes to Blaney, I feel he's either very much under the radar and is either showing up ready to race for the win, very competitive, or it seems like he's just not that mid pack. Maybe he could get a top 10 finish. I think that's a very realistic goal. Some of his wins, like the Charlotte Roval, for example, where right place at the right time, where the two leaders crash each other, good strategy. It just seems he always lacks that perfect race put together to get that win. He needs to do that because Joey Logano, as you mentioned, his teammate, pretty much the same equipment, this good. Joey Logano could be an easy favorite, I think, for this race that a lot of people are sort of sleeping on. So that puts Ryan Blaney a little bit further back, but I do think Blaney can get a top 10 finish. But as you mentioned, this is not the typical Bristol, and even typical Bristol, you don't know what's going to happen. With the dirt, the speeds are slower, as you mentioned. The cars are sliding around a lot more opportunities for beating and banging unintentionally because you're just sliding around. And potentially on track retaliation. We saw what Denny Hamlin did to Ross Chastain at Phoenix. Many were critical of Hamlin and Yaley's incident at Richmond. We know Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, they're not the best of buds after what happened at the Busch Light Clash. So when it comes to track retaliation, we could always anticipate two drivers won't give each other room for the win. But during the race, if we were to see on track retaliation, do you think this is the track where we might be seeing it because of the conditions that this race presents?
I think that's a great question. And I want to say yes. I think we should expect it, but I think it's not going to be any past beef guys have with each other. I think it's going to be what happens during this race on Sunday. Because I think even Kyle Busch and Joey Logano might be rivals, but those are two of the best in this sport, two who have some of the most respect. I think they're one of those love hate relationships. Like they respect each other a lot because of how great both of them are, but at the same time, they will move each other out of the way very easily to win a race. I don't know. The thing is, though, I guess with NASCAR's penalties and being, quote, inconsistent, in terms of like how I guess the general public views it. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors with the appeal panel and stuff. But like the same penalty, one gets mostly overturned, one doesn't at all. And then Denny Hamlin doesn't get the win on his appeal, so he still loses 25 owners points, drivers points, and then $50,000. This because he admitted it. So I guess what I'm getting at here is if you intentionally, right, I feel like Ryan Preece after the host of our incident last season in the trucks, like I'm pointing at the camera. If you intentionally do it, just don't admit it, guys. Just don't admit it. I'm not condoning it, but just don't admit that you do it, or else you will get penalized. So on track retaliation, we might see. I think we might see it. I don't know who it's going to be from, though. Obviously, that might happen during the heat races, which are on Fox Sports 2. Some of us might not be able to see that, so go to YouTube for some highlights after the fact. I don't know. How do you feel? Do you, Joe? Do you think there will be some on track retaliation between some drivers?
That's where I'm sort of with Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, those two particularly. I feel if they're racing for the win, you're gonna see some extra beating and bang, especially if it's Kyle Busch behind Logano. And we know Logano, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're leading that last lap and he could hit you in the bumper to push you out of the way, he's going to do it. We saw him do it to William Byron at Darlington. Really upsetted the Hendrick teams. I think when it comes to the racing in general, I don't anticipate something where unless something had happened early in the race and then you see the two drivers again make contact. I don't see like what we saw at Gateway between Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain mid race. A lot of folks were saying that was getting a bit out of control, and I think that is a good example when it gets a bit more out of control. But I don't anticipate anything like that. It's going to be whatever happens during this race, and of course, racing for the win. It's just sort of amazing because this could be the opportunity this Martinsville, because definitely we don't want to see that kind of stuff in Talladega coming up. But it's going to be really interesting. Logano, Kyle Busch, after what happened, the Busch Light Clash, here we are in another short track with these circumstances, and those two are both so good. It's going to be, you can't miss this race if those two are running top 10 all race long, and especially in the finish. If they're two contended for the win, there could be fireworks. And of course, this race will be under the lights. So just a friendly reminder to everyone, no Grid Life wrap up Sunday. It's going to be on Monday. The Bristol Ridge Race, very unpredictable. Like you previously mentioned, due to the small sample size of this event, only two, there are currently seven full time drivers who have yet to reach 100 points this season. Eric Amarola, Ryan Preece, we talked about Stewart Haas Racing, their struggles. We got Harrison Burton, Cody Ware, Ty Dillon, and Justin Haley. Some of those drivers, I think people would anticipate, okay, they would be struggling, especially Ty Dillon, Haley, Cody Ware. But Harrison Burton, and then, of course, two Stewart Haas Racing drivers that Stewart Haas Racing, of course, won the premier four teams. Do you think any of these drivers can contend for a win here in Bristol?
I think all of them really can contend for a win. But one guy I do want to point out that I feel like I don't give a lot of credit to is Ty Dillon. I know I've said on this show talking about stuff like Chase Elliott's still ahead of Ty Dillon. He's just unfortunately had one of the worst starts to a season you could possibly have. Reminds me of what's going on with Charles Leclerc right now with Ferrari in Formula One. Just having one of the worst possible starts. Luck just isn't going your way. But Ty Dillon, I don't think people realize he finished 10th here last season after starting 7th in the number 42 car, which now Noah Gragson, who's also one of those drivers uh, who doesn't have 100 points yet, who I feel like might be just the luck's just not on a lot of these guys' side, unfortunately. But I think Ty Dillon can be one of those guys who can go up there and contend. Maybe not for a race win, but definitely for a top 10. I think this is that time for Ty Dillon to really show up and be that guy who can get it done. And I think he can here. But I mean, looking at guys like Ryan Preece, Noel Gregson, Harrison Burton, Cody Ware, all the guys, Haley Almirola. I really think they can all get it done. Justin Haley, one of the guys too, I wanted to mention. He did start, I think it was sixth here last season as well. And so I like to say the last season stuff because of the next gen era as well. But then he started, I think, or he finished 14th, started sixth. That's a great race for that new college team back then. Now they got two full time guys running, and then obviously a third, which we're going to be discussing. Not full time yet, but very awesome to see. I think Justin Haley, especially with the points penalty, set him back like a really far way. We had more points than him. Mostly anyone tuning in right now had more points than Justin Haley due to that penalty. The same one that Hendrick Motorsports got as well with the hood louvers. I think Justin Haley can definitely contend and get it done. Like I said, don't count out any of these drivers. I really believe that this is going to be one of those races, just with the heat, that anything can happen. I think the majority of the guys have at least run one dirt race in their life, but getting into that next gen cup car is a whole different world. And I think we're going to hear that from the guy I mentioned driving the number 13 for Colleague Racing. I'll let you when you go into that, but I want to hear your thoughts as well. Do you think any of these drivers can contend for a win?
I'm leaning towards Priest actually in that 41. We know he's a great short track racer, has experience. He was so good at the Busch Light Clash until he had issues, fell back. If he has a clean race, he's won. I can almost see being a surprise winner even with this race. Gregson, it seemed like a lot of people were thinking he's going to be really contending, battling up there with Ty Gibbs. That hasn't been the case. Of course, we also, some of the news coming out from Legacy Motor Club this week, potentially that was a distraction. It's going to be really interesting to see how that team does overall. Gregson. And then Ty Dillon, I think, as you mentioned, he has struggled this year with Spire Motorsports. Last year, top 10 finish. It just seems every once in a while he could pull off a great race or great strategy. Another good example over at the Roval when we have wet conditions and he's pitted early to get the dry tires was a rocket ship up towards the front. Those are three drivers I think really got the best chance. I think when it comes to Cody Ware, Rick Ware Racing, the equipment, they just always seem to be off the pace. I don't see him being contender. Harrison Burton, he seems to be really hit or miss. He got Penske equipment essentially in those Wood Brother cars. It just seems like bad luck, no luck. They missed this, but this is only his second couple race injured. And as you mentioned, for everyone with the next gen car, this is only the second time, the first one with the prior gen. And Eric Almirola, oh man, if somebody was more snake bitten with bad luck this year, it seems to be him, considering he's going to retire, come back. Daytona 500 was looking great. That's just all gone downhill for that number 10 team. But Ryan Preece, his teammate, I think if people comment Ryan Preece is their pick a winner, I would not be surprised because I think he puts together a good, clean race. He could do it. Last race weekend, we saw Josh Berry. He put together a really good, clean race. Ty Gibbs also did pretty well. And we now also have, for this race weekend, Dirt All Star Jonathan Davenport. Three guys on the entry list who have never run a dirt race for the Cup Series. So, Matthew, out of these three, who do you believe will have the best day?
That's a tough one. I just also want to shout out Jonathan Davenport for Colleague Racing and driving the number 13. Also driving the Spire Motorsports truck if he does get into the race. It's awesome. I want to point out thing. A dirt guy in our area besides Mr. Stuart Friesen, who actually made his Cup Series debut at Bristol Dirt 2 years ago, is Superman Matt Shepard. I got all the cars, I promise you. You think of them, I have them. That's where all my money goes from this stuff, nonetheless. But Matt Shepard's a guy who I feel can compete. One of those guys like a Jonathan Davenport, exceptionally from my area. I'd love to see him get a cup shot too. I think Davenport's gonna have a great day. I really do because he's one of those guys who can get it done, especially in the type of dirt late model that he drives. Ty Gibbs, though, actually Ty Gibbs only driver with three top 10 finishes so far in a row, and the current streak finished ninth, ninth, and ninth. So I think he'll be great. Josh Berry, though, coming off an incredible second place finish. I don't know who I would lean to because it's weird to see out of, I believe there's like 37, 38 entries into this race. Only three of them have never raced the Cup car at Bristol Dirt, and it is going to be one of those three. So actually, if Davenport makes the race, it will only be between Barry and Gibbs, who have never raced in a truck or a Cup car. I'm gonna go with Ty Gibbs though. He did well in ARCA when they were at Dirt, so I think he can definitely get it done. Davenport, just because it's his first ever race in a Cup car, I don't know how fast he can grasp it. Same with Stuart Friesen, who I believe was on the same level of talent in Dirt. They're both exceptional dirt racers. Friesen was in Aspire Motorsports number 77. He didn't do as well. I believe he finished in like the mid 20s. I can actually check after this, but with Friesen did well or didn't do as well as he would have wanted. Davenport, I think, can get it done. Josh Berry in the Hendrick Motorsports, that specific car finished in the top 10 both races here. But I'm going to go with the Toyota camp here. I really think Ty Gibbs can be that driver of the three to get it done because we've seen Ty Gibbs under pressure seemingly has been getting it done very under the radar in the top 20 in points. So I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs on this one.
I gotta go agree with you. Ty Gibbs, he seems to be putting together some good, solid runs. Arca, he raced in the dirt. I would not be surprised, especially this is his first time on dirt with the next gen car. He knows how to race on dirt, a stock car. Everybody else, yeah, they have last year's experience. I feel like it's not that much of a big carryover, a big advantage compared to if this is your first year for a driver like Ty Gibbs. Josh Berry is going to be really interesting to see what he could do. Of course, Hendrick Motorsports, all the information and resources they have for those drivers, I think that's going to be really handy. But I just think Ty Gibbs, if I would not be surprised if Ty Gibbs is in the top five, fighting for a win in the closing stages of this race. I think he could do it. If he was to get a win, that would just, I think, get a lot of people to, okay, he is here. He is not just a rookie going through some of the rookie struggles, maybe what Gregson's going through a bit, but he is progressing quickly, and I think a win will really put him on everyone's radar. Speaking about wins, Matthew, it's that time of the show where we're all going to have to figure out who we think is going to win this race.
Absolutely. So it's time for what I still will consider everyone's favorite game. Not mine at the moment, as you see me have fallen to eighth after being in second early on the season. It is our very own Edward and Kobe's and Matt White, all of us, Josh, their favorite games. It seems like we're getting close. So pick a winner. There's only one race, so you won't have to hear my voice a lot talking about this. So the Food City Bristol Dirt Race, the third time this has ever been done, second in the next gen era. We welcome you in the chat. Please comment, and then afterwards on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, you name it, reply. Just say who you think's going to win this race on Sunday, the Bristol Dirt Race. So, Joe, it's only you and me. I'm going to throw it over to you for this one. Who is your pick a winner for this race?
For this race, I've been really thinking long and hard about this, especially after last year where we saw Kyle Busch get the win. Tyler Reddick, I think he could carry that 45 car towards the front. But I have to go with the driver that we talked about at the top of the show, who is tied with William Byron in the grid rating. I'm going to go with my pick for winning the Bristol Dirt Race, Christopher Bell in that number 20 Toyota. I think he's going to put together a good race. He is good all so far this year, and he's going to get that car in victory lane and himself in the playoffs. And I think really make the case he could open the floodgates for more race wins if he gets this race win. Christopher Bell is my pick a winner.
I think that's a great pick then for the people watching as well. If you go with Christopher Bell, I think that's a great one. I have two drivers I was thinking of mine. Going to go the number 45 of Tyler Reddick. I don't have his updated car yet because I don't think they've released it. But I got to go with a guy who has never spent a lap outside of the top 15. And then last race here, never outside the top 10. 100% top three rate here, never outside the top 15, like I said. Two-time Cup Series champion. This is one of them, one of the championships. This, I think that would have been, not obviously not the next gen one, so 2018. Joey Logano, I think, is going to get it done. I really do. So he's going to be my pick a winner. He's already won once here. He's already won once this season. One of the best drivers in the sport. My pick a winner is going to be Joey Logano for the Bristol Food City Dirt Race.
And a reminder, after the Food City Dirt Race, we're going to be on there on Monday due to the late start time of this race. The unpredictability, it's going to be combined Monday Grid Live Encore with NASCAR Wrap Up. Of course, Ben and everybody will be talking about the NASCAR Cup Series race at Bristol and the Craftsman Truck Series race at Bristol. Only two races going on this weekend that we're covering, but of course, it is the holiday weekend, so a lot of racing not going on. But of course, every weekend we're on the air pretty much from now all the way to mid December when the grid ranking concludes. So be sure to follow us at gridranking.com, especially follow all of Matthew's posts on NASCAR. We also are, of course, mainly on YouTube, but we stream on all platforms. We had a viewer on Twitch, comment in the chat room. We also stream on Facebook, but definitely come to YouTube. Here we're going to post more videos. Hit that bell and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our programs throughout 2023. And if you really enjoy what you saw today, consider contributing, investing in us. Call on the show. Mark, Rob, and David have been investing in us for quite some time. Once we hit $500 a month as our goal, we could regularly send folks to the track so we could have somebody from the track reporting to us right here on Grid Live pre-race and the wrap-up shows. And of course, buy me a coffee. That's where you could set the amount, one-time investment. You can buy a cup of coffee for your favorite on-air personality. Show them your appreciation for what they do right here on the Grid Network, and taking the opportunity to share their love of motorsports with you, the viewers at home. And of course, big thank you to everyone that's tuning in today. Matthew, is going to be, I think, a very exciting race weekend at Bristol, and of course, we're going to be all watching that. Matthew Bro, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time, and enjoy the races.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.